My name is Gayle Lanier. I'm a 1982 alum, and I'm here today to interview my daughter, Brittany Lanier.
My name is Brittany Lanier. I graduated NC State in 2007, and I am here today to interview my mom, Gayle Lanier. Okay, Ma, you ready for some questions?
I'm ready.
Okay, first question. What are your earliest memories of NC State, and what helped you in your decision to choose it as your college?
So our family moved back to Raleigh in 1972. And if you remember, NC State was pretty awesome in basketball at that time. We had the Player of the Year, David Thompson, and my family would watch every game that NC State played. Well, in 1974, David took a terrible fall during the game, and everybody stopped, and everyone was focused on this one individual. I was a freshman in high school, and it was just like, wow, I want to be a part of a group that's really focused on one person. And then knowing that engineering was pretty much where I was going to go, NC State, I was hooked.
Cool. You want to know what my earliest memory of NC State was?
Let me hear it.
So, knowing that my mom obviously went to NC State, and that is where she met my father, my memory started pretty much from the day I was born. So truly my earliest memories are when I am a small child and I'm going to those basketball games in Reynolds Coliseum that had zero AC and was very hot. And going to the football stadium and just cheering it on. I remember being able to do the little woof at 2 years old. And I vividly remember that my parents are huge sports fans for NC State. So I went to a lot of those games as well.
Okay. Well, then tell me about your experience being a Black woman on NC State's campus. How was that?
Okay, what if you tell me your experience as a Black woman at NC State, and then I will follow up what it was like 25 years later.
Okay. So it was a little different because being in engineering, there weren't a lot of other female engineers. I didn't have anyone else in my family who had attended NC State before I did. And so going in, I really didn't know what to expect. And then once you got there and you're an engineer and you're with all these men every day and you kind of felt a little intimidated, but you learn to have your own voice and do your own work and work hard, you could succeed. So everyone was so supportive. So that's what I remember. But it was difficult back in the early 80s. How about you?
Yeah, frankly, probably similar, right? Like, especially in the engineering program. So from an academics perspective, there were 2 other Black females that graduated in chemical engineering with me. So I had those 2, but then you're right. Most of the class are white men. And so you have to very quickly learn that, like, you've got to find people that you can relate to. And a lot of your experiences helped me know, right? Like, you got to find people that you can have and help you as you're going through this course that might not exactly look like you, but that's totally okay. So you can make different friends. I found, my tribe as a Black woman, like outside of academics is what I would say. And so, I had a very close relationship with a lot of people that I met at places like Tally and in the lunchroom, in the cafeteria. And you find a tribe that makes it still feel like you have family with new friends that you've met at NC State. So even though engineering program, yes, I'd love to see more Black women, and especially in engineering and STEM programs. It's something that my mom obviously pushed really heavily on me, which was phenomenal. But if I didn't have someone like her being an example that a Black woman could be in engineering, I don't know if I would have gone that path. And so I thank her for that.
That's kind of interesting, Brittany, because when I was in high school, I knew I was really good at math, but I really didn't know, what I wanted to do with my life and career. And it was so interesting. Your grandfather, my father, worked at Carolina Power and Light, which became Progress Energy, which became Duke Energy, which is the company that I retired from. He never got a chance to see me there. But when I was in high school, I remember my father in my junior year saying, you know what, you're really good at math. You need to go into engineering, because where I work is the engineers who make all the decisions. So I only applied to one place, and that was NC State, because they had the best engineering school. It was here in Raleigh. But had it not been for that, I really wouldn't have known what I wanted to do and what discipline I wanted to be in without him having worked with other engineers and encouraging me to do that. I think it's really kind of interesting because I started off in chemical engineering. And why did you go into chemical engineering?
I mean, for me, like I've always, to your point, I've been good at math and I was good in science and in particular chemistry. I actually had a high school teacher that pushed me to take AP chemistry. And I was like, no, I heard that is so hard. I am not trying to take that class. And she was like, I believe in you, Brittany, right? And having people that believe in you is really important. And so I took AP chemistry my senior year and just loved it. But I knew I didn't want to work in a lab my whole life. Like that just wasn't it for me. Again, so I talked to my mom. She did engineering and she was like, engineering is a way that you can use chemistry in a more applied way. And so that was really interesting for me and ended up being the reason why I chose to go into chemical engineering. So representation matters, people that believe in you matter and that tell you you can do something even if you didn't know you could. Tremendously like amazing. I don't think I would have, I know I wouldn't have chosen chemical engineering if it wasn't for that teacher and my mom.
Yeah. And I was like so many other students. I changed from chemical engineering. I changed majors to industrial engineering, and I found my true love. But you found your love with chemical engineering.
Temporarily. Then I went into
temporarily. Yeah. You still apply it, just in a different way, right?
No, I mean, I think that's the one thing is like my engineering degree. So I am now in marketing. So I'm in brand management. I went and got my MBA from Harvard Business School and then transitioned into brand management. And I'm currently working at Molson Coors in an innovation role. And the one thing that I really credit with me being a great marketer was me being a great engineer. And in innovation in particular, you are working with supply chain, you are working with engineers, you are working with product developers, you are working with like co-manufacturers all the time, and to be able to speak their language is amazing. So I am able to push when I need to push because I'm like, I know you can do that quicker. And I'm able to say like, I actually know that you cannot do that any quicker because I understand the complexity, and it gives me a lot of credibility. And it's like, oh, you're just not another marketer trying to tell us what to do and you don't understand our world. Like I do understand their world and I get a lot of credit for it. So my engineering foundation truly has made me a better marketer. And I am so glad that I had my engineering degree as a backbone to my MBA.
So what's your favorite number one top memory of being at NC State?
So for me, my memories are like just fun times with friends. Like I truly met my best friends that will be my lifelong best friends at NC State. And so my memories are things like Tally when it used, I don't know if they do it anymore, but we used to have the best parties in Tally, and they would just take the whole auditorium area and turn off the lights and you would just dance to all of the trendy songs at the time. But like those were literally my best memories, is like forming bonds with people for a lifetime and just kicking back and letting loose. Like I always remember Tally for those dance parties, and I'm sure you can do academics in there too, but that's not what I was.
That's fun. That's fun.
What about you? What was your top memory at NC State?
You know, I was fortunate enough, fortunate or unfortunate, it depends on how you look at it, is that I was in one of the first co-ed dorms at NC State. And so I lived in Syme, and Syme at the time only had the third floor that were girls. All the rest of the floors were guys. And the guys in the basement were like big brothers to us. They always protected us. But the ladies on our hall that I still am friends with today were, you know, kind of our posse. We would all get up in my beat up old Volkswagen and we would go to the football games together, and we would spend the whole day together, not worrying about school and academics. And we get together now at least once a year, And we still talk and think about those times where we were at the football games and things together. I'll tell you, that's my favorite memory there. I'll tell you my most precious memory after having graduated and still being part of NC State is when I was appointed as a Watauga medalist. And that was so just unexpected, so wonderful. To be the first African-American woman to be a Watauga medalist was something that I will always, always treasure. So.
What about that memory of meeting Dad, though?
Oh, that's so. Yes, as a freshman, my spring semester of college, I took co-ed volleyball, and I saw this handsome 6'3" guy that was in my co-ed class. And at the time he asked me about going out, and I was dating a guy from high school, and I told him I couldn't. And, because I was dating this guy, and it was just fate, I will say fate, that I also attended first session of summer school. It was my first session of summer school. He was actually taking it to finalize the last class he needed to graduate. And we just kind of ran into one another right outside of Tally. And he asked, was I still dating that guy? And I said, no. And he said, you want to go to a baseball game? And I said, sure. And we've been together ever since. That was 1979. And so 40 some years later, we're still together. So yes, that's a very special memory.
I love it. I love it. I just want to give a little plug to Dad there for sure.
Yes. We have a whole family of NC State alum. And for my husband and I, Dwayne Lanier, who graduated in accounting in 1979, we were actually the first of both of our families to attend NC State. But, as you know, Brittany, you and so many others have followed since then. It's been pretty special to know that we've got a family of more NC State alums than any other of the UNC system schools, even though I do have a sister that graduated from one of those blue schools. We forgive her for that.
We love her. Okay, so what was a challenge that you faced in pursuing your degree and career?
I think the challenge is probably what a lot of women are still facing today is there weren't a lot of people who were leading the roadmap for us, leading the path for us. So for us, we had to figure it out on our own. And I know, Brittany, you and I have talked in different sessions where we talked about the advice that our parents and mothers gave us and what we took and what we didn't take. And one of them was, my mom always said, keep your head down, do your work, don't make waves, just go with the flow and everything will be okay. Well, you learn very quickly in corporate America that if you don't make waves, you don't get noticed. And keeping your head down and doing your work is not the only part of the recipe to success. So I had to learn a lot of that along the way. Being a woman, also having a wonderful daughter at home who was the most important thing to me is how to balance being successful in my career with being a good mom and a good wife. And that was extremely important to me. And I worked very, very hard at that. And sometimes, at the sake of my own health, I would get sick trying to balance all of that, which means I probably wasn't balancing that well. But those were the things that were most important. It was my belief in God, it was my family, and then it was work. And those were the priorities. And often Gayle would kind of get lost in number 4 or 5. But those were the things that were important to me. And throughout my career, I've been able to mentor to other women to let them know that you can have it all. Maybe not all at the same time, but you can have it all throughout your career if you set your priorities and stick to them. So what about for you? What did I tell you that you didn't listen to or did listen to?
I think one thing that was, especially for thinking about one of the big pieces for me was learning to ask for help and never being too proud to say you didn't know something, because learning that lesson as a freshman in chemical engineering has helped me tremendously throughout my entire career. And so I think like a lot of us, right? Like you do really well in under or in high school and things like that. You take the classes, you get the grades, it comes pretty easy. You take your first chemical engineering class and you get that first test and it's a D and you're like, get it together, Brittany. You know what I'm saying? And there's the road of I could be able to do it on my own. I should be able to do it on my own. But like my mom and seeing my mom, you know, use her resources has always been something for me. So NC State has tremendous resources. I was at every study session. I went to every TA. I talked to my teachers. Like I was like, I can sit here and try to do it on my own and fail, or I can try to ask for help and not act like I know everything or that I should be able to do it on my own. I found lifelong friends again that were in my engineering program. And I would say, sit with me because I don't get it. And I need you to help me get it. And I had amazing friends I still talk to this day that would sit with me for hours to help me study because I didn't get it. And that has been the biggest thing I would say through education, through my career has been, you don't need to know it all. You need to be able to know who you can go to find the answer, but you are not supposed to do it on your own. And that has been amazing for me.
So what's changed the most at NC State since you graduated in 2007?
Being a jealous person that graduated in 2007, there have been some amazing building changes that have happened at NC State. So, you know, like I talked about before, Tally, we went there for a talk that my mom and I did 2 years ago now, and it has just completely changed and is amazing as a resource for the students. So if you think Centennial Campus, my dad and I actually drove through there a couple of weeks ago. When I was there was like the engineering building and that had just opened, I think my senior year. So seeing that total transformation of Centennial Campus has just been amazing. And I'm sure there's just such great resources there for future students and current students that I'm really glad that NC State has been able to invest in making buildings that are perfect for everybody. What about you?
So, you know, there have been a lot of changes. I do think the Centennial has been a huge plus. It was really underdeveloped when, I was coming along. I think Marianne Fox really kind of gave it a kick in the butt to get it started. And Chancellor Woodson has done a phenomenal job of continuing to grow and invest in Centennial Campus. So it's great to see the international recognition that our campus gets for that. So I think that's a positive. I'll also say the diversity at NC State. Had not been an African American student body president, male nor female, when I attended and graduated in '82. You know, so Kevin Howell was the first male African American male student body president, and he's now the first vice chancellor, African American vice chancellor for the university. So that's awesome to see that diversity. This year we have the first African American female student body president. So NC State has become more inclusive. We have diversity in all kinds, male, female, race, gender. It's phenomenal to see this university continue to grow. And I do want to say, I think Randy Woodson's done a phenomenal job in moving the university to be more inclusive.
Cool.
So what advice would you give to prospective students who are interested in coming to NC State and thinking about other schools?
Honestly, NC State is a tremendous organization that for me set me up for success all throughout my life, my career. And it's a resource that you will always be able to use. Like I'm in Chicago now. I see people from NC State all the time. Someone that I graduated with, I actually wasn't that close to in undergrad. I saw him in Chicago, and now we're in a leadership development program together, right? So like NC State follows you wherever you go, and you can always have it as a resource. And that is something that I think is amazing. Not to say the other schools don't do that, but I would just say, like, from an education perspective, number one, especially if you're looking at some of the things that NC State is really known for, like engineering. If you're good at math and science, you need to be at NC State, period, right? But like, also, I met my lifelong friends there. That is something that I still cherish to this day. Literally, my best friends I met at NC State, or continued friendships from high school that are still my best friends. And that is, immeasurable and an intangible that just becomes one of the most important things for me. So it's an amazing school. It will push you. You will learn more about yourself. I mean, I think that's the thing, right? Being on your own, making decisions for yourself, sometimes for the first time. It has all the resources that you need. So I would say if I ever needed anything, I knew that there was something there, from either a academic perspective, a like student health services perspective, mental health services, like all of that is there. So just know that you will be well suited for success at NC State. What about you?
I think very similarly is NC State gave me the foundation of how to solve problems. It taught me as an engineer how to solve any problem that was given to me. And, throughout my career, I was able to apply that in different settings, different industries: computer manufacturing, telecommunications, electric utility industry. So NC State will set you up for success. You're going to get a job. You're going to get a great job, and you're going to be part of the future of anything you want to be. It's NC State says, think and do. And what you learn at NC State is how to solve problems, how to apply what you have learned to everyday issues, and to do more than you ever thought possible. When I mentor to other women, even you, Brittany, I always let people know is I came up from very humble beginnings. I grew up here in Wake County, in a lower middle class family. We grew up on a family farm here. I worked in tobacco. I drove a school bus as a 16-year-old when they allowed crazy 16-year-olds to drive school buses. But I knew that that was not the future for me, and that I needed an education to help me to become the best that I can be. NC State gave me that, and I've succeeded more than what I ever thought I could, from that humble girl in Wake County, working in tobacco fields. So that's what I tell to every student. NC State will allow you to fulfill your dreams tenfold. It will give you a community to build upon and resources to come back to. You can do and achieve anything with NC State.
Love it. Mom, it was great talking to you. And I always learn something new when we have these conversations, even though we're so close. So I love having these conversations with you. I will see you shortly, and go Wolfpack.
Go Pack. I love you, sweetie.
Love you.